The human had never seen a world like this. Endless stretches of lavender-hued plains stretched to the horizon, dotted with crystalline trees that shimmered under a pale green sun. Strange creatures with translucent wings darted above the tall grasses, their chirps creating a haunting, melodic rhythm. He stepped carefully, feeling the alien soil beneath his boots, every nerve alert. He had come to this planet out of curiosity, a simple expedition to explore unknown worlds, but he already felt that this visit would be far from ordinary. The air itself seemed to hum with an energy he couldn't explain, a quiet warning that the rules he knew on Earth might not apply here. It wasn't long before he saw her, the alien girl. She appeared almost out of nowhere, stepping lightly over the glowing moss that covered the rocky hills. Her skin glowed faintly in the sunlight, shifting through subtle shades like liquid silver. Her eyes were wide and bright, the color of deep amethyst, and they seemed to take in everything at once. She carried herself with a confidence that suggested she belonged to this world entirely. Yet there was a playful glimmer in her gaze, as though she knew secrets the human could only dream of. He froze for a moment, unsure whether to speak or run, but the girl smiled, and that simple gesture was enough to ease some of the tension coiling in his chest. "You're not from here," she said, her voice melodic but firm, carrying an undertone of curiosity. She tilted her head, observing him as if she could see the questions forming in his mind. The human nodded cautiously. "No. I came from far away. I'm exploring," he said, keeping his voice steady despite the thrum of excitement in his veins. She laughed softly, a sound like chimes caught in a gentle breeze, and the tension that had gripped him loosened slightly. It was a dangerous place, yes, but something about her presence made the impossible feel a little more manageable. The alien girl led him toward her village, a cluster of structures that seemed grown rather than built, twisting organically from the ground like massive shells. She explained little at first, letting him take in the strange beauty of her world. Everything was alien yet strangely harmonious, a balance he couldn't quite name. As they walked, she gestured toward a small chamber carved into one of the structures. Inside, the air shimmered with latent energy, and in the center stood a suit of armor unlike anything he had ever seen. Its surface was sleek and segmented, etched with glowing symbols that pulsed faintly like a heartbeat. The girl's eyes sparkled with mischief. "This belonged to my ancestor," she said casually, though there was an almost imperceptible reverence in her tone. "It's said to be powerful, but, well, no one wears it anymore. We keep it for tradition. Mostly jokes and stories." She stepped closer, tilting her head and letting the human see the intricate designs in detail. "Try it on, if you dare. Just be careful." Her words carried a hint of warning, but the playful glint in her eyes suggested she didn't expect him to take her seriously. The human hesitated. He had faced challenges before, dangers on distant planets and hostile encounters in uncharted territories, but this felt different. There was something alive in the armor, a quiet hum that resonated in his chest when he drew near. Curiosity battled caution, and in the end, curiosity won. He reached out, feeling the smooth, alien material against his fingers, and carefully stepped inside the suit. To his surprise, it fit perfectly, as if it had been waiting for him all along. The symbols on the armor flared faintly, lighting up in intricate patterns that ran across the surface like liquid fire. The alien girl's smile widened, and for a moment, there was silence, just the hum of energy and the faint rustle of the village around them. Then, subtly at first, the human felt it, a surge of strength flowing through his limbs, reflexes sharpening, senses heightening. He moved, and the armor responded, amplifying every step, every motion. It was not violent, not uncontrolled, but undeniably powerful. He froze, a thrill and a tremor of fear mixing in his chest. This was no ordinary armor, and the playful warning from the alien girl suddenly carried weight he had not anticipated. You feel it too, don't you?" the girl asked softly, her eyes wide now, reflecting a mix of awe and fear. The human nodded slowly, unable to speak at first. The armor hummed with life, subtle yet insistent, as if recognizing him, as if awakening. The alien girl stepped closer, touching the armor gently. "It shouldn't react like this, not to a human. Are you worthy?" Her voice trembled slightly, betraying the centuries of tradition and expectation tied to the ancient suit. Outside the chamber, a faint vibration passed through the village, barely noticeable but enough to make birds take flight and creatures freeze mid-step. The human's pulse quickened. He was no longer a visitor or an observer. He was part of something far larger, something old and powerful that had lain dormant for generations. And now, he carried it. The alien girl watched him closely, a mixture of excitement and concern in her gaze. Somewhere in the distance, a subtle shift in the air suggested that others were aware of the awakening, a silent audience waiting to see what would happen next. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows across the crystalline fields, the human tested his new strength. A simple leap sent him soaring higher than gravity should allow, and he landed effortlessly, the armor adjusting seamlessly to his movements. The alien girl's eyes shone with wonder. This is only the beginning," she whispered. The hum from the armor grew louder, more insistent, and a faint glow spread across the village like the first spark of a storm. Something had awakened, something ancient, powerful, and unpredictable. The human realized then that nothing on this planet, or anywhere he had ever been, would ever be the same. A playful joke had become a turning point, a spark that could ignite forces beyond understanding. And as night began to fall, the alien girl's gaze met his, and they both knew, the adventure had only just begun. The human awoke the next morning to a quiet he had never known. The village was still, bathed in the soft glow of the twin suns, but the hum from the armor lingered in his chest, a steady rhythm that seemed to pulse with life itself. He flexed his fingers and felt the subtle power running through his veins. Every movement was sharper, faster, more precise. Even simple motions felt charged, amplified beyond anything he had experienced before. The alien girl stood nearby, watching with a mixture of awe and concern. "It's reacting to you," she said softly. "No human has ever worn it and survived, not like this." Her voice trembled slightly, betraying a centuries-old fear that something unknown might be unleashed. Curiosity pushed him to test it. He ran across the crystalline fields, leaping over jagged rocks and patches of glowing moss. Each jump carried him higher than normal, each landing softer, almost as if the armor absorbed the force and returned it to him. His reflexes had sharpened. A small creature scuttling toward him was avoided instinctively, almost before he noticed it. The alien girl gasped, stepping forward. You move like a predator," she whispered. "It's awakening something inside you, something not meant for joking." She gestured toward the village, where elders gathered, whispering in alarmed tones. The armor's presence had already begun to attract attention, and the human could sense it. Eyes, unseen but aware, were watching. He didn't understand yet what he could do, but every small movement caused the armor to respond with subtle energy pulses. A stone shifted on its own when he touched it, a gust of wind seemed to bend toward him, and even the soft grass beneath his feet leaned slightly in his direction. The alien girl's eyes widened. "The armor, it's alive," she said. "It chooses its wearer. And it chose you." Fear and excitement warred within her gaze. The human nodded slowly, feeling the truth of her words in every muscle, every nerve, every heartbeat. This was no joke. But power always comes with consequences. As the day passed, strange shadows flickered in the distance, figures moving too quickly, hiding just beyond sight. He caught glimpses of them out of the corner of his eye. Watchers, observers, maybe hunters. They didn't attack yet, but the hum of the armor seemed to grow louder in response, almost like a warning. The human turned to the alien girl. "Are they after this?" he asked. Her jaw tightened. "Yes. Something, or someone, knows the armor has awakened. They will come for it." The gravity of the situation settled in. What began as a playful experiment was now a signal to forces far beyond the quiet village. The humans spent the afternoon learning the basics, guided by the alien girl. Simple movements became fluid, small bursts of energy under his control, though he could feel there was far more locked inside the suit. The symbols etched into the armor glowed brighter with focus, shifting as if responding to his thoughts. "It feeds on intent," she explained. Not just physical strength. Your mind, your courage, your fear. It reacts to all of it. He tried to steady his breathing, controlling his curiosity and his adrenaline. Every misstep seemed to spark the armor into unpredictable pulses, subtle but enough to shift small objects or ripple the air around him. Evening brought the first true test. A distant rumble shook the ground, faint but unmistakable. The human looked toward the horizon, where clouds of dust indicated movement, fast, purposeful, and dangerous. He wasn't sure what he would face, but instinct told him it was drawn to the armor. The alien girl's face paled. "They're coming sooner than I thought," she said, her tone urgent. She grabbed his arm, pulling him toward the village's defensive perimeter. He felt the armor respond, energy bristling like static in the air around him. The pulse wasn't violent, but it demanded attention, making him aware of every detail: the terrain, the wind, even the faint vibrations in the soil. As darkness fell, the watchers revealed themselves. Shadowy figures moved with unnatural speed across the fields, halting at the edge of the village. They were humanoid, but their features were strange, angular, and their eyes glowed faintly with an inner light. They spoke no words, yet their intent was clear: take the armor, no matter the cost. The human's pulse raced. He had never faced anything like this. The alien girl whispered instructions, pointing toward defensive positions and telling him to focus. He followed, and the armor seemed to anticipate his moves, amplifying his agility and reflexes. A simple sidestep avoided a trap he hadn't even noticed, and a hand motion deflected a small projectile aimed at the villagers. The tension was unbearable. Every second, the watchers tested the perimeter, probing for weakness, waiting for a sign of falter. The human felt the power inside him grow, subtle at first, then surging, as if the armor was learning him and teaching him in return. He realized he had barely scratched the surface of what it could do, yet even now, he was enough to keep the attackers at bay. The alien girl's whispers reminded him of one crucial fact: the armor demanded respect and focus. Misuse, hesitation, or panic could cost them everything. By the end of the night, the figures retreated, leaving the village unharmed but tense. The human and the alien girl surveyed the perimeter, exhaustion mixing with awe. He had survived the first encounter, but he knew it was only the beginning. The watchers would return, stronger and more determined. And the armor? The armor was more than a joke. It was a living weapon, powerful, unpredictable, and bound to him in ways he didn't yet understand. The human stared at the horizon, the hum of the armor steady against his chest. The alien girl stood beside him, her eyes reflecting the faint glow of the armor's energy. "Tomorrow, we learn its full potential," she said softly. "And tomorrow, they will return." The night stretched around them, silent except for the pulsing hum of the awakened armor. For the first time, the human understood: nothing on this planet, or anywhere else, would ever be simple again. The morning air was heavy with unease. The human stood atop a hill overlooking the village, the alien armor glinting faintly under the twin suns. Its hum was steady but insistent, as if urging him to pay attention to something he could not yet see. The alien girl stood beside him, her eyes scanning the horizon, her body tense. "They didn't retreat for long," she said, voice low and urgent. "The watchers will return, and next time, they will not hesitate. They know the armor is here, and they want it." The human nodded, his pulse quickening. He felt the weight of responsibility pressing down on him. This armor had awakened something far larger than himself, and the consequences were only beginning. The village remained quiet, almost unnaturally so. Creatures that had filled the fields with their melodic calls were absent, hiding in the shadows, sensing the tension in the air. The villagers themselves were wary, their alien features reflecting a mix of curiosity, fear, and awe as they watched him. Word of the armor's awakening had spread, and whispers followed them wherever they went. Some villagers seemed fascinated by his presence, but others, older and wiser, eyed him with suspicion. They had seen the power of the armor before, legends told of those who misused it, and the human had barely begun to understand it. The human tested the armor again, lifting a boulder with ease, feeling the strength surge through his body. Each movement felt natural, yet the energy was alive, almost sentient, responding to his intent. The alien girl watched him carefully, noting every flicker of power, every reaction. "It's not just physical strength," she said. "It senses your courage, your fear, your mind. It knows you in ways you don't understand." Her words sent a chill down his spine. The armor was not a tool, it was a partner, and a partner with its own instincts. Then the first real sign of danger appeared. Shadows moved at the edge of the lavender plains, subtle but deliberate. Figures unlike any human or villager, humanoid but angular and alien, slipped through the tall grass with unnatural speed. They were silent, efficient, and clearly observing, testing the perimeter of the village. The human's instincts screamed at him to act, yet the armor restrained him, pulsing subtly as if to teach patience. He glanced at the alien girl, who nodded in understanding. "They are scouts," she whispered. "They're measuring our defenses, finding weakness. They will bring the full force soon." The human's heart pounded as he realized the gravity of the situation. The Watchers were patient predators, not mindless attackers. They had studied, observed, and learned from their previous encounter. If he acted rashly, they would exploit it. He moved cautiously, testing small abilities of the armor. A quick leap over a rock, a subtle force that shifted the grass in his favor, small bursts of strength that gave him confidence without revealing too much. Each action was deliberate, teaching him more about the armor while protecting the villagers. The alien girl guided him through the village's defensive strategies. Hidden shelters, energy barriers, and traps designed to delay invaders had been dormant, but with the armor, they could be activated efficiently. She taught him to anticipate movement, to sense shifts in the terrain, and to channel the armor's power without losing control. The hum in his chest grew louder with concentration, responding to both fear and focus. He began to realize that this power could be dangerous if misused. One mistake could destroy the village, or worse, attract the attention of even greater threats. As the sun climbed higher, the scouts revealed themselves more boldly. Small energy pulses rippled across the plains, probing for weaknesses. The human reacted instinctively, leaping and twisting, deflecting attacks with the armor's amplified reflexes. The alien girl moved with him, coordinating defense strategies, using her own abilities to guide him through the chaos. Even so, tension crackled in the air. The armor's power was immense, but so was the enemy's persistence. Each encounter tested not only his strength but his resolve, his intelligence, and his ability to remain calm under pressure. Hours passed with no clear resolution. The scouts retreated intermittently, then returned with more coordination, showing intelligence beyond simple programming. The human realized that the Watchers were not just scouts, they were part of a larger force, a hidden army waiting for the perfect moment to strike. Fear tightened his chest, but he focused, drawing energy from the armor, learning its rhythms, understanding its reactions. The alien girl watched him with a mixture of concern and admiration, realizing that he was beginning to master what few beings could even approach. As evening fell, the human stood on the highest hill, watching the plains for any movement. The scouts had withdrawn, but the threat was far from over. The armor hummed, subtle vibrations signaling awareness, as if warning him of dangers still unseen. The alien girl joined him silently. "This is just the beginning," she said softly. "They will return stronger, smarter, and faster. You must prepare." He nodded, understanding the weight of her words. The armor had awakened a power he barely comprehended, and now he bore the responsibility of controlling it, mastering it, and using it to protect not just himself, but the village that had become an unexpected home. Night fell, bringing with it an eerie stillness. Stars glimmered faintly above, and the alien girl's eyes reflected the glowing symbols of the armor. The human realized that what had started as a joke, a playful challenge, had transformed into something far greater, a test of courage, power, and survival. The hidden threat lingered, patient and relentless, waiting for the moment to strike. And the human, once an outsider, now carried within him the legacy of the armor, a force that could change everything. The day began with a quiet intensity. The human woke early, the armor humming softly against his chest, almost impatiently, as if aware that the day would demand more from him than any before. The alien girl stood nearby, her eyes alert, her posture taut with focus. "Today, we push further," she said simply. "You must learn not just to wear the armor, but to control it." The human nodded, feeling the weight of her words. He had survived encounters with Watchers and understood the danger they posed, but now, mastery was the only way forward. Every movement, every thought, every breath would matter. They started with the basics, yet the simplicity belied the difficulty. The alien girl guided him through exercises designed to heighten his awareness, to tune his senses to the subtle responses of the armor. A flick of a hand, and the armor responded with energy pulses. A thought, and the surrounding environment seemed to shift minutely. Rocks rolled slightly, air currents shifted, and even the plants bent with invisible intent. The human realized that the armor was teaching him as much as he was learning. It was alive, sentient, and demanding respect. Missteps caused small bursts of energy, sometimes startling him, sometimes forcing him to adjust instantly. Hours passed in a blur of focus and sweat. The human discovered that his strength could be channeled in ways he had never imagined. A leap across the crystalline plains now felt effortless, and with concentration, he could amplify his speed to evade approaching threats or anticipate movements before they occurred. The alien girl watched him with a mixture of awe and caution, guiding him with advice she had never voiced aloud to anyone before. "The armor responds to intent, not force," she said quietly. "Your thoughts, your emotions, they shape its power." The realization struck him hard. Controlling the armor was not about raw strength, it was about self-discipline, mental clarity, and courage. As the afternoon sun climbed, a subtle vibration ran through the plains, almost imperceptible but unmistakable to someone attuned to it. The human froze, instinctively raising his hands, and the armor responded, creating a soft glow along its surface. The alien girl's eyes narrowed. "They're here," she whispered. The Watchers had returned, approaching cautiously but with purpose. This time, they were testing not just defenses, but the limits of the human's abilities. He could feel their presence, a cold calculation emanating from the distant figures. Fear surged in him, but the armor pulsed with energy, steadying him, amplifying his focus. The first wave of scouts approached quickly, their speed and coordination remarkable. The human and the alien girl moved together seamlessly, a dance of instinct and control. Energy pulses deflected incoming attacks, and small traps activated automatically as if guided by the armor itself. Each movement taught him more about its capabilities, its sentience, its precision, and its connection to him. He realized that the armor could anticipate threats, enhance his reflexes, and even subtly manipulate the environment, but only if he remained calm and focused. Panic would be fatal. The alien girl explained more about the armor's origin as they prepared for the encounter. "It belonged to my ancestor, a warrior of legend," she said. "It was designed to awaken only in those deemed worthy, to respond to courage, intelligence, and heart. Many have tried, none succeeded until now." Her voice held reverence and awe, tinged with worry. The human nodded, feeling the immense responsibility settling on his shoulders. This was no longer a playful joke. The armor had chosen him, and with that choice came a duty he could not ignore. The day turned into a rigorous series of tests, combining agility, strategy, and mental focus. The human discovered abilities he had not yet imagined. He could leap vast distances, manipulate subtle energy fields to redirect small attacks, and even sense movements before they happened. The alien girl guided him patiently, pushing him further with every exercise, warning him of potential mistakes, and celebrating each small victory. Their bond strengthened, trust growing as he proved himself capable of handling what many before could not. By late afternoon, the Watchers had become more aggressive. Their energy pulses intensified, probing the village and testing the human's reactions. Each attack was met with a precise counter, but he could feel the strain. Controlling the armor required more than focus. It demanded stamina, patience, and the ability to anticipate the enemy's next move. Yet every success brought confidence, and every failure offered lessons. The human began to understand the true power of the armor. It was a living force, amplifying his strengths, compensating for his weaknesses, and guiding him toward mastery. As evening fell, the human and the alien girl stood together atop the crystalline plains, watching the distant watchers retreat for now. Sweat dripped down his face, and his muscles ached, but there was a new understanding in his eyes. He was learning not only to survive, but to harness the armor's hidden potential. The alien girl placed a hand lightly on his shoulder. "Tomorrow, we will prepare for the full force," she said. "They will come stronger, and you must be ready. The armor has awakened in you, but awakening is only the beginning. Mastery is what will save us all." Night descended, and the twin moons cast a gentle glow over the village. The human felt a quiet hum through the armor, a rhythm like a heartbeat, steady and reassuring. He realized that the power within him was vast, unpredictable, and alive, and that mastering it would not only determine his survival, but the fate of the alien village and everyone who called it home. The lessons of today would be crucial for tomorrow, when the Watchers returned, relentless and unyielding, testing everything he had learned. The village awoke to an unsettling calm. The human stood at the edge of the crystalline plains, the alien armor humming softly, attuned to every shift in the wind, every subtle vibration underfoot. He had grown stronger, more confident, yet an unease lingered in his chest, a quiet warning that all was not as it seemed. The alien girl approached him silently, her expression grim. "Something is wrong," she said. "The Watchers are not alone this time. Someone from within. They betrayed us." The human's heart skipped. Betrayal was the last thing he expected. In a place he barely understood, among people he had only begun to trust, the stakes had just grown far higher. At first, the signs were subtle. Supplies went missing, alarms that should have triggered did not, and strange whispers floated through the village at night. The human noticed it, the armor pulsing irregularly, responding to threats even before they appeared. The alien girl's expression darkened as she explained. "A rival faction, one that envies my people's heritage, has infiltrated the village. They want the armor, and they will use any means to get it." His grip on the armor tightened instinctively. The playful joke of yesterday was gone. This was war, cunning, and deception, and he was at the center of it. The first attack came as the sun rose. Figures emerged from the shadows, moving faster and more coordinated than any scouts before. The infiltrators struck from within, opening gates and disabling the village's outer defenses. Panic rippled through the inhabitants, but the human moved with precision, the armor amplifying his reflexes and strength. He leaped, blocked, and struck with a fluidity that amazed even the alien girl. The armor pulsed, almost guiding him, responding to his intent, as if aware that failure was not an option. Yet every movement carried the weight of consequence. One misstep could cost lives. Among the attackers, he recognized one figure, a member of the alien society he had begun to trust. Their face was familiar, their eyes cold and calculating. The realization hit him like a blow. The betrayal was personal. The human felt anger surge through him, but he forced himself to focus, letting the armor steady his movements. It hummed in response, energy flowing through his veins, granting him clarity and control. With each strike, he defended not just himself, but the alien girl, the villagers, and the fragile bond that had begun to form between them. The battle spread across the crystalline plains, energy pulses clashing with light and force. The human discovered new facets of the armor's power, deflecting attacks without thinking, sensing movements he could barely see, and even subtly influencing the terrain to aid his defense. The alien girl moved with him, coordinating strategies, pointing out vulnerabilities, and helping him anticipate the infiltrators' next moves. Together, they became a synchronized force, blending instinct, skill, and the sentient energy of the armor. But the betrayal cut deeper than strategy. The infiltrator had unlocked hidden defenses within the village, using knowledge the human and the alien girl had never anticipated. Traps that were meant to protect now threatened their own side. Civilians fled in panic, and the human realized that raw power alone would not win this fight. He needed intelligence, precision, and courage, not just strength. The armor responded, guiding him subtly, nudging his movements, and helping him anticipate the enemy's deceptive tactics. Each counterattack was a lesson, each survival a proof of trust between man and armor. The alien girl's voice cut through the chaos, sharp and urgent. "They've cornered some of the villagers. Move." The human leaped, twisting mid-air, striking multiple attackers with force amplified by the armor. He reached the trapped civilians just in time, using the armor's subtle energy manipulation to lift debris and create a path to safety. Relief was brief, replaced quickly by the knowledge that the infiltrators would not stop, and that the betrayal might run deeper than even they suspected. Hours passed in relentless conflict. The human and the alien girl were a storm of movement and strategy, slowly turning the tide against the infiltrators. Yet every victory revealed another layer of danger. The enemy was patient, cunning, and willing to sacrifice themselves for the armor. The human realized that the watchers from the plains were only a part of the threat. This betrayal from within added a new dimension of peril. The armor hummed steadily, guiding him, giving him strength, teaching him control, and reminding him that every choice mattered. As the sun dipped low, the battle reached a crescendo. The human faced the leader of the infiltrators, the one who had betrayed his people. They clashed with a force and intensity that shook the surrounding plains, each strike echoing through the crystalline fields. The armor pulsed, its energy intertwining with his own, responding to instinct, intent, and courage. He realized in that moment that the armor was not just a weapon, it was a reflection of him, a partner in every sense, amplifying both his strength and his will. Finally, the infiltrators were forced to retreat, their plans thwarted, but the cost was evident. The village was battered, defenses damaged, and trust shaken. The human and the alien girl stood together amid the chaos, bruised but unbroken. The armor's glow softened, almost sighing with relief, as if acknowledging the trials had passed, for now. The alien girl placed a hand on his shoulder. "This is far from over," she said softly. "They will return, stronger and smarter. And next time, you must be ready for everything." Night fell over the crystalline plains, the stars reflecting in the armor's surface. The human realized the truth of her words. Betrayal had taught him more than any lesson in training, the importance of trust, strategy, and calm under pressure. The armor had awakened in him not just strength, but awareness, courage, and the wisdom to survive. And while the watchers, infiltrators, and hidden enemies remained a looming threat, he understood one thing clearly: he could no longer be a passive visitor. He had a role to play, and the fate of the alien village, and perhaps more, rested in his hands. The sun had barely risen, casting a pale green light over the crystalline plains, when the human stood at the village's edge, armor humming with a quiet intensity that mirrored the pounding of his heart. The night had been restless, filled with visions of battles past and warnings of what was to come. The alien girl approached silently, her eyes fixed on the distant horizon where dark shapes moved with lethal precision. "They're coming," she said softly, voice edged with fear. "This is the full force. We cannot hold them off with strategy alone. You must awaken the armor's full potential." The human nodded, feeling a mixture of excitement and dread. This was it, the moment where everything he had learned, every lesson, every surge of power would be tested. The watchers and infiltrators approached with terrifying coordination, spreading across the plains in perfect formation. Their energy pulses crackled like distant lightning, probing for weaknesses. Civilians had been moved to safety, hidden deep within protective chambers, leaving the human and the alien girl as the last line of defense. The armor pulsed on his chest, resonating with his heartbeat, almost impatient to be unleashed. He could feel the vast reservoir of power waiting inside him, responsive to his intent, his courage, and his will. With a deep breath, he centered himself, letting the armor merge with his instincts, his movements, his mind. The first clash was violent and immediate. Scouts darted forward, attempting to overwhelm him with speed and precision. He reacted instinctively, the armor amplifying every movement. He dodged, parried, and struck with a fluidity that felt natural, almost like dancing. Energy pulses emanated from the suit, pushing back attackers, shifting the terrain, and creating subtle barriers that guided their momentum away from him. The alien girl moved beside him, directing him, pointing out weaknesses, and assisting in attacks with her own abilities. Together, they were a storm, a whirlwind of energy and skill, each movement perfectly synchronized with the armor's sentient power. But the battle was more than a test of skill, it was a trial of will. The human faced the leader of the infiltrators, the one responsible for the previous betrayal. Their clash shook the ground, energy colliding with energy, light flaring in blinding bursts. The human felt the armor's energy surge in response to his determination, pulsing through every fiber of his being. He realized that the armor didn't just enhance strength, it amplified intent, courage, and focus. Fear would weaken it, hesitation would dull its power, but resolve made it nearly unstoppable. The infiltrators unleashed their deadliest tactics, combining strategy and brute force. They moved as one, attempting to trap him, exploit gaps, and overwhelm his defenses. The human's heart raced, yet he remained calm, letting the armor guide him. He discovered abilities he had not realized before: subtle manipulation of kinetic energy, rapid amplification of reflexes, and even a faint influence over the Watcher's movements. Each surge of power brought exhilaration, but also danger. The armor demanded respect, responding to his intent, punishing recklessness, and rewarding precision. Hours passed in relentless combat, the plains a blur of light, energy, and motion. Yet the human and the alien girl persisted, turning the tide. Villagers watched from hidden chambers, hope flickering in their eyes as they witnessed the seemingly impossible. The armor glowed brighter with each act of courage and protection, becoming more than a tool, it became a partner, a guide, a living extension of the human himself. The alien girl's trust and guidance were invaluable, and the bond between them strengthened with each challenge. Finally, the moment came. The human faced the infiltrator leader alone, the plains eerily quiet except for the armor's hum. The enemy charged, energy crackling violently, but the human was ready. He centered himself, drawing upon every lesson learned, every ounce of focus and courage. The armor flared with blinding light, energy radiating outward in a wave that shifted the terrain, knocked back the attackers, and created a protective barrier around him. It responded to his will, to his intent, and fully awakened its latent power. Every strike, every movement, every breath was amplified beyond imagination. The infiltrator leader faltered under the sheer force of the awakened armor. The humans struck with precision, not recklessly, and the battle ended in a blinding surge of energy that left the plains silent once more. The Watchers and remaining infiltrators retreated, their attempts to conquer the village thwarted. The armor's hum softened, almost as if sighing in relief, its power now fully merged with the human's will. He had survived, mastered, and protected, not just for himself, but for the alien girl, the villagers, and the legacy of the armor itself. The alien girl approached, eyes wide with awe and gratitude. "You did it," she whispered. "You awakened it, and you mastered it. I never imagined a human could do this." The human removed the helmet slowly, sweat glistening on his face, exhaustion and exhilaration in equal measure. He realized the truth: the armor had chosen him not just for strength, but for courage, heart, and determination. The lessons, struggles, and betrayals had led to this moment, and he had emerged not only victorious but transformed. Night fell over the crystalline plains, the twin moons casting gentle light across the village. The human stood with the alien girl, the armor's glow faint but steady, a reminder of the power he now wielded and the responsibility that came with it. The villagers emerged cautiously, hope and admiration in their eyes. The human understood then that his journey was only beginning. The armor had awakened, enemies had been challenged, and trust had been forged. But the galaxy was vast, filled with hidden threats and unknown forces. And now he was no longer just a visitor, he was a protector, a warrior, and a force the universe could no longer ignore.